right, Mr. Manager, I guess we're ready.
We have two items, well actually three items today. One is to discuss the legislative platform for 2019, and at each of your desks you have a copy of the latest revision. And the most significant change on that document is the chairman went to a meeting at the chamber, and through discussion we determined that we had a very similar platform with City of Wichita, REAP, and the chamber on a couple of three topics. And so we reflected that on this current document. It's the very first paragraph, so that's the number one. And the chamber has also drafted a letter, which you have a copy of, to send to the state with this regional agreement between Wichita, the chamber, and the county on the behavioral health, workforce, and infrastructure types of needs. So you've got a copy of that also that we could discuss and give the chairman the ability to sign off on that and send that back to the chamber so we could then forward it to the state. So that's the first item we need to talk about.
Very good. I think all the commissioners are aware of, I've talked to them, actually I spoke at the Packard Club, and most of the commissioners were there, so they're aware of the discussions that we had over at the chamber the other day. They have not, I know that you provided this letter recently, so what we need to do is decide whether or not that you all agree that I should sign this letter for Sedgwick County, along with Jeff Longwell, Gary Plummer, Jeff Fleur, Keith Lawling, and they added one more. They wanted the mayor of Wellington from REAP to also sign it. So that's not on this. But
Shelley Hansel's name is going to be added to it, but
yeah.
the dictum of the report is all the same.
Anyway, any commissioners have any input or concerns about us signing this joint letter? Yeah, no. Commissioner Rantow.
We support the City of Wichita's transportation and infrastructure priorities.
It says that we didn't call out the all of the transportation and infrastructure, so no, that's not correct.
Well, I think it gives that inference, personally, and I'm not sure. And I don't know anything about REAP and anything that they're doing anything good at all. So, I mean, I don't know what they're doing, if anything. But I'm very concerned about the priorities of the City of Wichita's transportation. I know we've talked about this. I think we share some of the concerns. I don't want to give the legislature an inkling that we support their transportation priorities at all. I think we're better off just doing our own thing and then working with these partners as specific issues come up in the future. But I know how things work as they get up in the Topeka, and then our position will be misconstrued and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just me. I mean, I think it's a big issue.
Did you read this third bullet? It says, finally we recognize the need for transportation funding that adequately supports our region's infrastructure needs. Critical projects like the North Junction in Wichita require funding and build out to protect drivers and pave the way for a new economic development growth in this area. We must also ensure that South Central Kansas receives an equitable distribution of transportation funding as the legislature debate and comprehensive state transportation program.
I get that. I heard that.
But that's all that we're asking right now. I think that we all agree that that's where we need to go, don't we?
Well, it says, I mean, it gives, we recognize critical projects like North Junction of Wichita. Well, City of Wichita, he agrees with that, but when it comes to other things, they consider other things critical as well, and the priorities are, it's just, I mean, I just expressed my opinion. I mean, you guys can sign it, but I mean, I don't want there to be any leeway for them to misconstrue where we're going forward, because it's a big difference of opinion, and it really matters, I think, to our community. So that's my concern. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Well, to that point, I know there's been some disagreement between Wichita and Sedgwick County, for example, Northwest Bypass. So it does raise that question. If we're partnering up on, say, one project, let's say North Junction, that can stand alone as we agree with them on that, and we would like to partner on the efforts to see that go forward. But that doesn't mean we agree with everything else. I guess it'd be really important to be very specific as to what we are agreeing to. I think the most important thing on this list really is the behavioral health stuff. And what happens, I will tell you, there's lots of different versions of bills that might happen. What happens if there's disagreement between two different version types? How do we resolve that if we're completely partnered up on the front end? I guess I'd like to continue to maintain our independence as we go forward. So if we see a bill we like or a clause we don't like or whatever it is, we would be able to speak independently. Unless we're handing this over to them or they're handing it over to us to fight this fight on their behalf, or they do it on our behalf, whichever.
I don't think that we have to be in violent agreement with them on every single topic. But, as we go through the legislative session, we've got our lobbyist up there that's going to tell them what our priorities are for certain. This is kind of general. What we're trying to do is say at the top level, these are the things that we've got some agreement on, and that's behavioral health, workforce development, and infrastructure.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think it's. I'll just say from my experience in Topeka, it doesn't seem like this is going to change what happens in Topeka. And this might make us feel better, but I don't think this is going to change the momentum or inertia. It happens in Topeka based on our advocacy for what we think is important for Sedgwick County. So we can do this. I just want to make sure we maintain our independence. We will not agree with Wichita or any other organization on everything. We might have overlapping goals, but we need to maintain our independence. That's number one.
Commissioner Arnott?
I don't know, it seems to me like these are general statements of our partnership with the different entities that are listed here. They are not specific. There's nothing in here that we would be specifically against. The detail of our more specific, we're still going to advance this as our legislative agenda. So I think this is the right thing for us to do, to partner up and say these broad areas we're supportive of, and when you get to the detail, we're paying a lobbyist a fair amount of money to make sure that our position is clearly articulated. And so I trust that will happen. But at the outset, I would want our legislature to know that these are not only our primary issues, but also primary issues for the area, and the detail of it will clearly communicate that. So I'm in favor of having you sign it on our behalf.
Okay.
And I would finally say, I would say one more thing, that is that we did have a process to get this developed. It's taken a long time, months to get this done. And I think everybody understands and knows when we get two new commissioners on this bench, we're going to go back and revisit potentially some things, add or take off some things, which would be expected. I think every election cycle that happens. I guess I would wonder the timing of this. We already printed the little brochures. Are we going to?
We've got to redo these.
I understand that. So the timing of that, I would suggest we would wait until, if we were to change it with this, and knowing that we still have commissioners that haven't weighed in on the county side, what our priorities are, I don't want to do it a third time.
No, but we're going to, by tomorrow, we're going to have to redo this, I believe. For one thing, we got to change the names on the back.
Right.
So it's got to be reprinted no matter what. We've got two events coming up. One tomorrow afternoon where we've got our legislative group coming in here to this room, and then on Thursday when we're going out to WSU. So we've got to do something to move forward to get communications to have the new palm cards ready for us for tomorrow and the next day.
In years past, we've used the commission that approved that and left that on that card as we had those two meetings. That's what we've always done in the past. And then when the new commissioners are seated and they make changes, then we might update the document. But it is accurate as of tonight when we have our tomorrow night. It's accurate. The commissioners that voted for that, their names are on that brochure.
Well, I agree with that. But the problem is when they start meeting and they've got this in their hand, it does not have the correct commissioners on.
Okay. All right.
So I truly believe that we need to, and I don't want to say that we discount what Commissioner Ramsau and Commissioner Unruh have, but I think when we hand this out, they're going to have this, and it ought to have our new commissioners' names on it.
Well, just if I was one of those new commissioners, I guess I would like to vote for it before you put my name on a document that says this is our priorities. I'm just trying to respect them as well.
Or don't put anybody's name on it yet. Just put Sedgwick County Commission. Then
I think the Chamber's race to get this in was to beat the legislative luncheon we're having tomorrow night and the Thursday event. I think that's why they wanted the letter signed today so that they could put it out tomorrow so they'd have it on Thursday. Whose name is on it, that's a policy decision.
Well, the letter is going to be a little different than the palm card, because the letter doesn't have anybody's name on it except for the chairman's. So I don't have a problem with the letter myself because it's very generic. It just really kind of spells out in a little bit of detail behavioral health, workforce development, and transportation funding. So I don't see a big problem with this letter. The palm card, I guess we can leave the names off totally tomorrow when we hand it out, or this evening, because we need to hand this out this evening. We got a quick turnaround.
Tomorrow night.
Well, I'm good with it. So I think
Okay.
that's third.
I don't want to discount this letter. I think the letter's really important. I mean, it's got the partners on it. It's got our highest priorities. It says clearly this is what our focus is. We can't tell them exactly how to craft the legislation, but it tells them this is what our interest is, and we want them to respond to it. I think it's a well-written letter, and it's important for us.
And I think it's generic enough that we're not getting in saying that we're going to support every single thing that each of the other entities have as priorities.
Right.
So, other than Commissioner Ramsau, is there any problem with me signing out the letter? I guess we need to ask that.
But
Okay.
I still have reservations, but that's okay. You get,
So the letter's okay, and we'll work that. The palm card, we just want to leave we're going to have to make a change at the top on the front. And do we want to leave the names off the back, or what do we want to do with the back?
I don't care.
I don't care.
I'm sure they know how to find us, so I would leave the names off.
Okay.
Okay.
So don't put any names on the back right now.
Okay, very good.
All right.
The next item, as you are all aware, in 2017, we worked through a good part of the year reaching an agreement with the City of Wichita on EMS services, and we are far enough into that process now to where we got some data back from EMS just recently, and I guess I kind of wanted Rusty just to kind of talk through it. I know, Chairman, you have a copy of the numbers right there, and kind of just talk about.
Pass that down, Rusty, so he can speak from it.
So I think all of you are aware that EMS has contracts with the City of Wichita, and then they also have contracts with the vehicle system and the Western system. The purpose and intent of the contracts with the hospitals is to allow EMS to, their field supervisors and managers to case manage, triage and case manage at any given time of day, based on the resources they have available and the call volume at that time. With the contracts with the hospitals, it allows EMS 90 minutes to arrive, pick up, and transport a non-emergent patient who simply needs to be transferred from one facility to another. Those patients are under medical care, so there is no emergent need for EMS to arrive and provide any kind of medical care or get them somewhere quickly beyond in less than 90 minutes. The contract with the City of Wichita requires that EMS arrive for non-emergent transports at facilities that they do not have a contract with within 60 minutes. And the measure for that is that it has to be within 98%, I believe, if I recall correctly. However, finishing the last quarter of 2018, and we measured this throughout 2018 by quarters, and we reported to the City of Wichita and the hospitals our performance measures, and generally our measures are greater than 99.5%. This last quarter, we were at 99.93%. So EMS has proven that their field supervisors and and managers are able to effectively triage and assign units to ensure that the emergent calls are made in a timely manner and that they get to the hospitals and or to other medical facilities within the city of Wichita and make those transports within the required parameters at nearly 100%, just shy of 100%. So we've not had a quarter yet where we have failed to meet the benchmarks set forth by the city of Wichita and the benchmarks that we agreed to with the hospitals. So I think it's important to give kudos to those EMS field managers for the work that they do to make sure that they're serving the public with emergent calls and that simultaneously they're providing good service to the medical facilities and the nursing homes in the city and in the county with timely responses. On another note, the additional resource that we had funded for 2019 at Fire Station 39 out by Garden Plain was stood up yesterday. The crews and the ambulance were placed out there yesterday, so they are in service at this time, just so you know.
Very good. I'm very pleased that we stood up the EMS post out by Garden Plain. That's something that I've been talking about for 2 years, and I'm very glad that happened. Matter of fact, I talked to Van this morning briefly, and I wanted to include in my comments this afternoon when we do ribbon cutting out east to just say that not only are we doing ribbon cutting here, but we've also stood up one on the west side of Sedgwick County. So thank you very much for all the work that everyone did to get that station open too.
We'll be monitoring the service that ambulance provides out west and make sure that we are hopefully reducing response times to areas beyond Goddard to the west and to the southwest.
Good. Well, we got Rusty there. One thing we've been talking about for some time is naming a room out at the LATC for Sheriff Hill and Chief Munyon. Where are we at?
Okay, so the room was dedicated and the plaque for that room was hung above the door. Arrangements were attempted to have a formal ceremony for that purpose. The organizers of that indicated that those two did not wish to have the formal dedication ceremony. Most recently at the last LATC board meeting, which was just the other day on Friday, I don't think there's an intent to have a formal dedication ceremony for that room. However, there is a plaque that was supposed to be developed with specific language giving the history of the LATC being joined between city and county. And Tanya is working on getting that plaque prepared and completed. And once that's done, there may be a possibility that at that point there would be a dedication, but the details haven't been worked out on that, sir.
Good. Well, I know they're both very humble individuals. I appreciate that, but they had a big impact on what we've done, so I think we still need to recognize them whether they want it or not.
There's a joint effort between the sheriff and the Wichita Police Department working with an architect to design a display to display a lot of artifacts from the past history of both departments, and I think this history plaque would be part of that display as well. So it would be incorporated into the design. It may be hung and dedicated sooner than the rest of the display, but it's part of that major project that's ongoing as well.
Good. As long as we got Rusty here, there's one more thing we might as well talk about before we get on to the final area, and that's the sheriff and I had an opportunity earlier this week to go over and tour the Harry Street detention facility. First of all, I want to thank all the folks that were involved in making that happen. I know that has been a big effort. It paid off. It's not something I would personally like to stay in, but it's something that's going to serve us well and save us a lot of money. So I was very pleased. I don't know if any of the other commissioners want to have a chance to go over and tour it before there's prisoners in there. It's still empty right this minute, but in the very near future we are going to be transporting folks over there, and it's going to save us the out-of-county expense of moving those folks out of county to do that. So I want to thank everyone in facilities, public works, everyone that's been involved in that process. I don't know if Sheriff wants to say anything about it or not.
Yeah,
fire codes and some other stuff that was completely out of our control. So we're going to open it January 28th. Right now, it will hold 180 people. We just graduated a class of about 19, thank goodness, because it's going to take 16 people over there to man that particular area. And we're 61 people down, so losing 16 people out of the facility, I don't know how we're going to handle that. So, but we will have, over the weekend, we will be bringing all these folks back and housing them on cots and stuff. So Monday, the 28th, it will actually open, and we'll transport the 180 over there. So set up with its 5 days a week, 8 to 5, will have its own nurses station. If there's just like in the facility, if there's a major medical emergency, EMS will be called. If it's just a doctor's visit that needs to take place within the facility, our own transportation unit will be able to do that because we're not going out of county as much. So they'll be spending a lot more time here. As of today, we're 246 inmates overcrowded, which means we still have 66 inmates that we have to ship out. But the good thing about that is by reducing that population, those folks, Sumner County can handle all 66 of our people if that's what we so chose to do. But when we get overcrowding up in the 300s or over 300, we also have to rely on some other local jails. So we'll split that population up amongst El Dorado or Butler County, Cali County, Chase County, and Sumner County, because those are the 4 jails that will handle most of our overspill if we have summertime. The population goes up. So, but no, we're very happy with progress, and thanks for all the help and the support on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Commissioner Arnold.
Sheriff, as you're reducing the minimum age for your detention officers, has that had any impact yet?
No, we're getting back into we stayed away from the schools a little bit because of that reason. I'll be honest with you, I still have major reservations, but as one staff member put it to me, is there a lot of difference in maturity between an 18 and a 19-year-old. They get the same training, those type of things. It's just it's a difficult environment to put a kid into right out of high school, but at this point, we have no other choice. We're averaging 20 to 30 people down my first 3 years here. The last 2 or 3 years, it's between 50 and 70. And we're losing people simply because of the amount of overtime they're working, not because they don't like the job. They want to spend some time at home, and so we've got to do things a little bit differently, and that was one of the choices that we made.
And the problem is not unique to us. I mean, all the jails having problems.
It's all over the United States. It's just not a very glamorous job. It's not a job that starting wage isn't it's $15.97 an hour, and we have a lot of people that go on to college and expect to make more than $15.97 an hour when they graduate. So,
but the enhancement of the wage scale, did that?
We're hoping. Well, that's our folks were very satisfied with that. Very happy with that. We're hoping with from a retention standpoint, we'll be able to retain more.
Okay.
We're hoping that also when we recruit people, that's a recruiting mechanism that is there to entice folks to come in because they can see that if they get good evals, this is where they can end up being in 10 years. Because there's other stuff that we battle with that can offset that, one of which is the gatekeeper's retirement within the genomic system.
Do you take 76-year-old retirees?
Funny you ask that. We just hired, going to be in the next class, a 71-year-old ex-Marine.
Are you kidding?
Who is very, very energetic. Retired from the Marine Corps. Went on for his second career, wanted to be a nurse. His third career, he wanted to have something to do in law enforcement. He lives out by Sedgwick, Kansas, and has horses, and he's bored, and decided he'd take a look at his next career. So
good for him.
He passed everything that physical agility and everything else like everybody else did. So we'll give it a try. So yes, we can hire 71-year-olds.
Okay. Well, I was joking.
Jody, come on over.
I was joking.
You're pretty much committed now.
We'll be knocking on your door tomorrow.
Very good, thank you. All right, Rusty, I guess we put you on the spot long enough.
Very good.
And then the last item, Mr. Papoon's going to go over, we've had some direction in past commission meetings that Mike's going to talk about.
Morning, Commissioners. The regular meeting on October 24th, there was an off-agenda item taken up to address what was labeled as an open, external, transparent analysis of county leadership. This culminated, of course, in the investigation that was done by Stephanie Scheck and was completed about 3 weeks later, in which the Commission had an opportunity to review and use that report. It was during the discussion of that particular motion that Commissioner Ranzau raised the prospect of expanding the scope of that investigation to also include conduct by county commissioners. Ultimately, the motion was approved and made by Commissioner O'Donnell, seconded by Commissioner Unruh, to expand the initial scope of the investigation to the county commission after the initial report was completed. That motion passed on a 3-2 vote, with Commissioners Ranzau and Howell voting no. Recently, the chairman and Commissioner Ranzau have had an opportunity to meet to discuss the scope of a follow-up investigation that would involve investigating the county commission. What you should have before you, I have extra copies if you don't, is the proposed scope that was developed by the chairman and Commissioner Ranzau. And at the bottom of the document there are included.
We don't have it.
You don't have it? You pass that down.
Okay.
The top portion of the document was the agreed upon scope by the chairman and Commissioner Ranzau, and below are some additional concerns that Commissioner Ranzau wanted to be addressed as part of this scope. The question I had in discussing this with you then, and the question I have now is, the scope somewhat easy to come up with. Now what do we do with it? Who do we have investigate? Do we use an attorney, such as we did with Stephanie Scheck? Do we use the county's auditor, maybe BKD, to come in and do an investigation? Are there outside organizations that can conduct an investigation like this, a review? Are there consultants? What is the purpose of this report? Is it an internal document that we want to use for self-improvement? Is this something that we want the public to have access to? But at this point, I'm going to recommend that you give staff enough time to come back with some recommendations and some costs involved with completing this investigation, and that's what I'd ask for approval for right now.
Very good. Commissioner Ranzau, you have any comment?
Yeah, I'll say I appreciate being able to work with the chairman on this. There's a lot of things listed here. I kind of think maybe there's a few too many here, but in working with the chairman, I said as long as my concerns are addressed within those three things, that would be fine. My recommendation is that you use an attorney, and then maybe if they want to contract out and with some other people to help out, that'd be fine, because if you have an attorney, then you have attorney-client privilege. You have more control over what's released and what isn't. And I would encourage the commission to approve this today, and allow staff then to go out and get recommendations. I mean, if you're concerned about costs, you could narrow this a little bit. I won't go into all the details. I think there could be a more narrower scope. Because I think in the end, I think it could be helpful in preventing some things from happening that's happened in the past. I'm going to pass out. I've made a recommendation to the chairman and the manager and council that you look at modifying the ethics. And I know we just passed some ethics thing, but I think it would be beneficial to have something with teeth that allows, if something's being done inappropriately, what do you do about it? Well, this is something I'd worked on for quite a while and started, Karen Pell to do this up. I think it was based upon Johnson counties, is that right? And so they actually have a mechanism where ethical complaints can be filed and investigated. But my understanding is they don't really haven't had a problem with that because they think just having these in place helps solve the problem because people know that it's a deterrent effect because there's actually a mechanism. Because right now with our ethics that we just adopted, I mean, you have them, but there's nothing to prevent anything. But anyway, I don't expect any action on this today, but I just wanted to pass it out and make sure everybody, this would be my recommendation moving forward. I think it would be helpful. I think it'd be helpful for the commission and for the constituents to know that there's something with teeth in place.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I concur with Commissioner Ranzau's comments that we had a good working meeting with he and I and Mr. Papoon to come up with the scope that you have before you right now. We agreed also that the concerns raised by Commissioner Ranzau would be addressed as the items in the scope. I concur with Mr. Papoon's recommendation that we have them go out and come back with recommendations, keeping in mind the recommendation that Commissioner Ranzau had that you look at an attorney. So, are there any other comments?
I think at some point I would like to have a chance to, I guess, influence the scope of this investigation at some point in terms of, there's a lot of stuff on this sheet, and I will tell you that I was concerned about the cost on the work that Stephanie Scheck did before. I asked for an estimate before they got started. I never did get that, but it ended up being around $90,000. I personally was not really very satisfied with the report that we received. I think it had a lot of flaws. That's just my opinion, but I guess if we're going to do that again, I'd like to know that we have, I guess, a cost estimate going forward. I'd like to know what the mission is. Obviously, it stands to reason that two commissioners leaving this bench, are they under investigation are they targets of this scope as well? What are should they investigate or take a look at Commissioner Ranzau, Commissioner Unruh? If there's findings, what happens? Or let's do it the other way. If there's findings on the other three of us, what happens? What are the things what's the point of it? I guess is trying to find out what's the mission of this. Certainly, if there's illegal activities, there's criminal investigations that have happened and I think are continuing, in my opinion, for anything that's potentially illegal. So I guess I have a lot of questions about this, and some of this, in my opinion, is hard to pin down exactly what it even means. So at some point, I guess I'd like to have some chance to weigh in on the details of what we're trying to do here at some level. Yes, sir.
I'd like to answer his questions as to what the benefit is. Well, first of all, we find out exactly. I think policies weren't followed in a number of areas, and this is problematic. So we need to find out exactly what happened, facts only. I do agree. I think there's a lot of facts out there. Then the manager and staff and the chairman and commissioner take a look at it. What can we do to prevent that from happening? So you have a way to find out what's true. You could be transparent. I mean, and we're talking about things that were probably inappropriate or didn't follow policy. I don't think there's, I'm not talking about illegal stuff, but still things that you could have some transparency. I think being transparent is beneficial. Seeing what happened and putting in place mechanisms in the future to prevent those things from happening again, and possibly the ethics thing. I don't think there's any punishment for anybody, but it's a matter of being transparent and being honest and say, let's not let this happen again, assuming there's something found. Now, if nothing's found and there's no negative facts, but the key is facts, things that actually happen and conversations that whatever, not innuendos or suggestions, and I think you could do that. It would be beneficial.
Is this all in relation to Mr. Scholes? Is that your point?
Well, it's in relation to the environment that was created over the last few years since his hiring. And there was a lot of things that went on. Some of them were related to Scholes, some of them not. But eventually it all kind of comes together. So.
Very good. Well, I think we need to get our counselor to start working this and come back with recommendations, and heard a number of comments from several of the commissioners today on direction and costs and so forth, so we're going to need some pretty good detail when you come back to us again.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. In addition, and to address Commissioner Howe's comment too, I'm not looking at having an attorney or someone looking into criminal allegations. We have law enforcement agencies that are much more capable than just attorneys going out and doing that. It's more the ethical kinds of considerations that we'd be looking at. So,
Okay. Anything else on this? Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Mayor? Very good. Mr. Anza, anything else today?
No, I just want to say thanks to everybody for the opportunity to work with everybody for 8 years. It's been fun, and I've learned a lot, and never expected to make this a career, so I'm going back, and I start a new job on Monday, but I appreciate the opportunity to work with everybody, and we haven't always agreed, but we've had a good time arguing about it, I think. So I think we made it, we've done some good things. We made some good decisions. We've saved the taxpayer dollars and gotten some good programs going, and just some of them you just talked about today. So I appreciate all the work everyone's done and having the opportunity to do work here. So.
Very good. Commissioner Unruh?
Well, I'd like to make similar comments, I guess, in this a little more intimate setting than in the board meeting, but just to express my sincere appreciation for the staff of Sedgwick County. Some of you I've worked more closely with than others, and we've developed personal relationships, which I treasure, and I consider them important to me. And we've had staff that are not here for one reason or another in my last 16 years that are good friends and were excellent at what they did. But you all are the heart, nerve, and sinew of county government. Really, I mean, you're the guys that the persons who get the work done. I mean, you have to start from scratch, make it happen, and we get to make policy decisions. And so, commissioners get a lot of the credit. And I know that a lot of your focus is to make commissioners look good, and you've done a great job of that, in my opinion. But in the process of that, you've moved the county forward. A lot of really great things have happened in my term that I think are good for the community, and that demonstrated, I think, to the community that Sedgwick County government's a great organization, and it's full of really good people who know what they're doing and are committed to public service. So thank you all very much for making my term as a commissioner enjoyable. And as I leave, all I can say is that keep on keeping on. You all do a great job.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell. Commissioner O'Donnell. Do any of the electeds in the office have anything? Sheriff.
The county commission approved for that substance abuse coordinator that's now housed with the sheriff's office. I want to introduce Wendy Hummel. She comes to us over 20 years of experience in law enforcement, and is a key person that got the Crime Stoppers back up and running, and nationally recognized for awards. This last year, she got Coordinator of the Year for the continental United States. So she has a very good skill set when working with people, understanding the problems that are facing us, and how it's the substance abuse issue, and also working with department heads, leaders in the community. And so we're very happy to have Wendy with us. So I just wanted to introduce her since we have department heads here in the county commission. So if you see her and she comes and talks to you about substance abuse issues, now you know who she is. So thank you.
Very good. Well, we want to welcome you. Right now is the perfect time to have you on board. As you can tell, if you looked at our legislative agenda, behavioral health is what we've got at the very top of our agenda. And that's exactly what we were looking for with the two positions that we hired to start helping us out on that. So we welcome you very much. Thank you. Any other electeds have anything this morning? Well, since I'm the last one to be able to speak, and tomorrow we are going to have an opportunity to say goodbye to both Commissioner Ranzau and Commissioner Unruh, but I sincerely appreciated working with them. I've only been able to work with them for 2 years now, but I appreciated working with both of them. We'll have more comments tomorrow as we say goodbye to them. We want to make sure that everybody knows that we have a couple of big events coming up. This evening we have our legislators coming in for a little get-together so that we can talk to them about our legislative agenda.
Tomorrow night.
Or tomorrow night, I'm sorry, tomorrow night. And tomorrow at 10:30, we have a get-together, a little going away after our board meeting to say goodbye to Commissioner Ranzau and Commissioner Unruh, and don't thank you for their service to our community. Well, is there anything else that needs to come before us today? Sounds good. Well, have a great day. Thank you all for being here.
Great seeing you, David.